What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Kids Staycation. So, for today, I'm going to be making and decorating a bunch of little tiny cakes. They're going to be about 3 inches in diameter. And it's just a good alternative to, how you would usually cut a cake and everybody would get their own slice. Instead, they're all going to get their own little tiny cake, which is pretty fun. For today, I'm just going to be making a few different types of cake, but I'm going to be making a vanilla and a chocolate base. You can use any type of cake that you want. The cake mix that I'm, going to be mixing up is kind of difficult, so use whatever recipe you can find. But if you use, a box cake mix, you're going to probably want 2 boxes because we're baking it in a sheet pan, so it's gonna be like this big, right? It's gonna have to be pretty thick and fill in the whole sheet. So use 2 boxes, or if your recipe says 12 cupcakes, double it so it makes 24. If it says 24 cupcakes or 2 rounds, you should be fine. So let's get into it. So this is the cake batter that I made. I'm doing vanilla first. I took this sheet tray, sprayed the entire thing with cooking spray, and then folded a parchment to fit just the bottom. You don't want it up on the sides because that's going to make uneven spots, right? Then I'm taking this spatula and smoothing the cake batter, very gently smoothing it out to all of the corners, making sure that you get it to all of the corners. It's even all the way across. And this type of spatula that I'm using is called an offset spatula with that little bend. It just makes it a little bit easier to spread everything without your hand getting in the batter, right? You're going to want to get rid of all those little lines because that's an uneven spot. And then I take all that extra and put it in a low corner. Once it's all even, you're going to put it right in the oven. I'm putting it in at 350. Do whatever your cake mix says to do it at. And then it's going to take about 15 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean. Once it's cooled, I cut it out with a circle cutter that's about half the width of length of my finger, about 2 1/4 inches. You can do whatever size. I just cut the circles out. Then you're gonna need a frosting. I made lots of buttercream. And then a turntable. That is optional. It just makes it a little bit easier when you're trying to frost, but you can move it with your hands. It does matter. Next, you're gonna need something to set it on, something to decorate it on. I took these little cardboards, covered it in cake foil. You can find it all at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. Next, you're gonna need a spatula. I'm using a little offset spatula, again, so my hand can be away from the cake as I'm decorating it. Then you're gonna need a flat edge. I'm using this bench scraper, but you could also use a ruler. That would work. This is just gonna make nice flat strokes, I guess. This is nice because this is kind of what it's made for. Then you're going to want a piping bag to fill with frosting. So I put a little spongy square. You could use wet paper towel, little spongy square, and put my cardboard right on top so that it doesn't move when I'm trying to decorate it. Then you're going to take a little dollop of frosting and put it right on top. Oh, I got a little too much there. Put a little dollop of frosting right on the top of that cardboard so that the cake layer won't move. Once you've got the frosting on there, you're going to take your first layer of cake and make sure it's centered on the board. Make sure it's right in the center. Press it down to kind of lock it into that frosting. And then you're going to take your pastry bag and make a nice layer of frosting right on top. once you've got the frosting on there, you're going to take your little spatula and just kind of go around in a circle or back and forth and even out that frosting. Make it look nice, make it even. You can go back and forth, right? You don't have to use a circle motion like with the turntable. Just make sure that it's even. I decided that it needed a little more frosting than that, so I'm just going to put a second layer and do the same exact thing. Next time I'm just going to start out with more frosting to begin with, right? Once that's nice and even, I'm going to check it, get at eye level, make sure that's nice and flat, there's no high spot, and then I'm going to take my second layer and put it right on top. I'm going to look straight down at it and make sure that it's centered, and then press it down to kind of lock it in. But be gentle while you're pressing so you don't squeeze any of that frosting out of the sides, right? Then you're going to do the same exact thing in between the second and the third layer. Just put frosting down and then even it out with your spatula. It ended up slipping just a little bit, but that's okay. You can go ahead and even it out again. And then I'm putting the third layer down. I'm putting this one down upside down because the bottom is usually a little bit flatter or a little bit less crumbly than the top of the cake. So I'm just going to put a little, like a thin layer of frosting right on the top and then put some frosting on the sides. At this point, I am doing what's called a crumb coat. So it is a light layer of frosting all the way around the cake that kind of locks all of the crumbs in. So that when you're decorating the cake, when you're like doing the final layer of frosting on the cake, you don't have any loose crumbs that could come up and get in your frosting, right? You want it to be nice and even. So I just went ahead and smoothed the top out, and then I'm taking my spatula and my bench scraper the long ways and smoothing all of the frosting out on the sides. The cake layers did start to move a little bit, but that's okay. I just went ahead and held it and moved it with my fingers as I was kind of going to kind of keep it in place. You can see the bench scraper works a little bit better in these situations because it's a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier. It's easier to make a straight line with it. But remember to be gentle, because a lot of force is going to scrape the cake or move the cake layers, and we don't really want that. And once this layer is done, we're going to see how it's nice and smooth there. We're going to take our spatula and go straight in. Well, we're going to straighten it out first. And then go straight in on the top, just to get rid of that little lip there, make a nice edge. And then we're going to put these in the fridge for about 30 minutes for the frosting to get nice and hard on the outside. Once they're cooled, we're going to take them out, and I'm going to put a generous amount of frosting right on the top. This is going to be the top layer of the frosting, right? So we want a nice smooth layer you can't see any cake whatsoever. It's going to be about a 1/4 inch deep, which is maybe like half of the width of your pinky, sorta. And then I'm going to take some more frosting on the sides of it, and I want that layer to be about the same thickness as the top layer of frosting, and that's all going to be about the same thickness as the frosting in between the layers of the cake as well. Here I'm just evening it all out. And make sure to add like more than enough frosting, because you're going to end up scraping some of it away when you go around for the final like sweep, you know. So it's better to have more than not enough. Here I'm just filling in the last few like low places where there isn't enough frosting. If you can see the cake, you probably need more frosting in that area. And then I'm going to add a little bit more because we want a little edge that comes out. We want a little edge on the top that comes out of the cake. So I'm going to add more frosting on the top to get that little edge. Because whatever is going out will eventually go up on the top. And that is just going to help us get a clean edge right on the top of the cake. So we're going to take our bench scraper and gently go around. It should be easier this time because the cake is hard and, you know, it's not going to slip around nearly as much as before. We're just going around to get that nice smooth edge. We're not necessarily scraping the frosting off, it's more pushing the frosting, like evening it out, pushing it all the way around the cake to kind of even it out. There are places where there's like places where you can see the cake, we're just going to add more frosting there. If you see any crumbs in your frosting, now's the time to take it out. You know, just kind of pick the crumbs out of the frosting so that you can replace it with more regular frosting, right? So we don't see any of those crumbs, we get a nice clean color. I'm going to take a little bit more frosting here and fill in the spots where you can see the cake. Yep, I'm just filling in all of the spots here. And then gonna go around again with the bench scraper. With these ones, I am covering the sides in some chocolate curls, so it doesn't matter too much if you see the cake at the bottom. But if you want, you know, just the frosting, then just keep adding more frosting to those low spots and try and even it out. And that's how we get that nice clean edge on the top, or on the sides, right? That's how we get nice and smooth. And then on the top, you can see that little edge went up. The one that was out went up. Then we're gonna take the spatula and go straight to the, like, in from the outside. We're gonna go into the middle, just to the middle, so that you get that nice clean edge, but not far enough that it makes it like go down the sides or go out again. And there we go. I forgot to take a video of the cakes when I was putting all of the finishing touches on, but there's the key lime. I ended up poking a straw down the middle and filling it with that lime curd that's sitting on the top, put some graham cracker crumbs around the side, and then some frosting on top, fill it with the curd, you know, just make it look nice. This is the vanilla one. I just did a little dollop of whatever on top and then put a truffle on top. This is the German chocolate one. I did the same thing as the key lime. I just poked holes through the middle of the whole thing, filled it with that coconut topping, and then did a ganache on the top, which is actually 2 parts chocolate to 1 part milk or cream. So like I would weigh it out, but like 2 cups of chocolate to 1 cup of milk, Then you heat it up, mix it together till it's all nice and smooth, and drip it down the side. Did that for the peanut butter one as well, and then I just added a little dollop of frosting and some in a peanut butter cup on top so that it faces you when it's served, like that. It's gonna look pretty nice when it's all done. Hey guys, so I'm sorry this wasn't like the best staycation video, but it was something that I was really busy with. I thought you guys might enjoy it. It is going to be easier to do those kinds of techniques with bigger cakes. So if you got like bigger round ones, like as big as your face, like a 5-inch or a 6 or a 9 or whatever, if you did a bigger cake, it would be easier because it's got some weight to hold it down. These ones are so small that they just tip over when you're not expecting it. But they're definitely doable. I think you guys would have fun if you're trying to do it. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into those. But then again, you can use any kind of cake. You can use any type of frosting. I made my own cake and I made my own frosting. But I know that Target has like a buttercream, something like that, already mixed up by their cakes, which is a really good option. It's already mixed like frosting for you. The canned frosting, you could always just put that in a bowl and whip it up like with an electric mixer, and it'll become a little bit more airy and a little bit easier to use. If you're using a boxed cake, I would say, you just cook it till you can stick a toothpick in the middle and you don't get any crumbs. I don't know how long exactly. I ended up cooking it about 15 minutes. But it depends on, your oven, depends on the type of cake you're making. Yeah. So, if you have any questions, go ahead and comment on the Facebook video, and I will reply as fast as I can. Alrighty? And until next time, have a good week, guys.